Portrait mode. All right, there we go. What's up, everybody? One second. Hold on. All right. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Paul P. I serve God. I'm not God. This is just my opinion, and welcome to another episode of the Nothin to Somethin podcast. So excuse me for a little bit of the malfunction that was going on. Just for people who this is their first time watching the stream from me, I'm streaming from like 5 different platforms right now. I'm streaming on YouTube. I'm streaming on Instagram, which I'm still trying to figure the Instagram thing out when it comes down to the portrait mode and everything like that. So I'm streaming from Instagram as well, Twitch, Facebook, and Rumble as well. So you can watch it from all of those platforms. Now, just to be transparent, I will prefer everyone watch on YouTube, my main channel. And if you're not a subscriber, please go to Paul P. Nothin to Somethin podcast and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I would really appreciate that. But if you're watching from a platform that you're comfortable with watching it on, that's fine as well. No matter what, I just appreciate all of you for watching. And for everyone who, continue to tune in. Like I said, I'm going to try to do a live stream for 90 days straight, except for weekends, Monday through Friday, 90 days straight. That is my goal. I was a sometime live streamer. I focused on interviews and messages and stuff like that. Every once in a while, I do a live stream to put a message out there, and give you guys clips. But I told myself, you know what? I'm going to try to stream for 90 days straight. Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to pull it off, but I'm going to try. Just like right now, you see your boy dressed up. Came from a meeting, straight into the office, cut everything on, make sure I was ready for the live, and I'm here. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I'm here and I'm going to do it. So let's talk about some of the topics that we got today. Also, too, you see I got my ball. You know what's so weird? Ever since I've been holding the ball when I stream, before I stream, I look for the ball. Look for my Laker ball, man. I got to have my basketball to stream. Oh, man. So yeah, got my ball right here with me. My Bible ready. Hey, let's get to it. So, the main topic today, I'm going to go into the other topics, but the main topic today is, and look, I want to put this out there too. I put this out there before, but I want to put this out there as well. I say all the time, I want to have the hard conversations here. Do that mean that I know everything? Absolutely not. I will never, ever say that I know it all. In fact, I'm still learning and still growing. Do I have wisdom and an understanding of things? And do I have certain things that I am better in when it comes down to understanding, being highly educated in that area and stuff like that? Yes. But when it comes down to it, I want to have the hard conversations where we can talk about it together. I want to see y'all opinion. I want to hear y'all thoughts. Rather that's something that y'all agree with or not, right? Now, this is what I will say. Before I speak on any topic or subject, right? I do my research. I study. I get all the facts. With all of that being said, I still give my opinion. But I'm going to make sure that I've done enough research to have the facts. So I'm never going to talk about anything without having facts behind whatever I'm talking about. And we're going to go over those facts together, right? So I just want to put that out there. For the people who see the picture, that's Bunk. Bunk, a.k.a. his name now is Holy Gabbana. This is a guy who transformed his entire life. He was a content creator who a lot of people at one point in time, to be real with you, didn't like. He got a lot of views, but people didn't like him. He would go up in restaurants and just destroy the restaurant. He'll film it and put it on his channel. He went to jail a lot of times, but he was out there, when he was doing this thing on that side of the world as a content creator. But he turned his life over to God. He got his life right. And now he go by the name Holy Gabbana. So I'm gonna show a video on him, right? But let's bring up the topic, really quick first. And again, I appreciate everyone who's watching. And keep coming back, man. Like I say, this channel right here is for us. These conversations, these hard conversations, is for us to have together. So the more that continue to join in, the more opinions and thoughts we could get on this channel, because that's what it's about here, right? All right. Also, too, I want to put this out there for everyone that's watching. So put this. So let other people know as well, right? Tomorrow, I will be giving away $100. All right. In the middle of the show, I'm going to have a question that I ask, and whoever send me a comment with the answer to that question, I will immediately cash app them $100. So keep that in mind too, everybody. Tomorrow, I will be giving out $100. Straight up. I'm going to cash app them live. I will cash app you live. That way, it won't be, oh, nah, he just talking. He ain't really giving out no money. He broke. He cheat. He ain't giving out no money. Nah. I'm going to do it live. So make sure you are here tomorrow for the live stream to hear the directions on how you could win $100 during that live stream. All right. Now let's get to the topic. So the main topic today is, why are single men not going to church? I'm gonna just say this, because I'm gonna go over the other topics too. I will say this: when it comes down to it, most men who go to church are either married or in serious committed relationships. There are facts behind that as well. So most men by that time are in a place to where they're settled. Also having a woman by your side who is is a Christian and goes to church as well. She want to go to church, so being the man in that relationship, you're gonna want to go. You're gonna want to go to church with your woman. So most of the men that you see in church are married or in serious relationships, right? But like I said, we're gonna get into that. I'm just gonna go over the other topics, but I just want to put that out there for people to think about that first, because the stats are very overwhelming when I show y'all the stats, and it goes over how the percentage go up in regards to men when they are in relationships, right? So that alone right there, I want to hear y'all thoughts on, right? But we're going to break it down some more. So other topics that we have is, I may show, it depend on the time, because like I said, I really want to dig on this topic, really dig into this topic in regards to why single men are not going to church. So if we have time, I want to show a video of a YouTuber who had an encounter with God. He was a very, very famous YouTuber. I mean, had millions and millions of followers, and he had an encounter with God, and he told his story. So I may play that video. Also, a DC man was killed by his son. It's crazy, man. And this was a man who was wheelchair bound. His son killed him. So I want to show that. I'm definitely going to show that video. And also, too, we're going to talk a little bit of Lakers. We got a Laker game today. We're going to talk a little bit of Lakers, man. Like I said, I'm trying to implement sports more into the live stream as well. So we're going to talk Lakers, too. We're going to get to that, too, So, all right. Before we get into the main topic, why are single men not going to church, I want to show a video of Bunk, and his name not Bunk no more. I keep saying that for the people who know him as Bunk, but Bunk, a.k.a. Holy Gabbana. I want to show a video of a message that he put out there, right? And I really want y'all to see this video. It's a very powerful video. So let's go on and play that video really quick. All right, 1 second. Let me get that video together for y'all. All right. All right. So listen to this. This is powerful.
I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit. I got out of jail. I still didn't live a Christian lifestyle. Still wasn't a Christian. Still was chasing money, women, pills, and all that. So the seed was planted in me from my cellmate. What watered the seed was my friend, Nero. He was a drug dealer. He was serving drugs. And the girl that he was serving drugs to, she got on the phone and said, hey, yeah, I'm with him right now. Okay, yeah, you want to get something? Hey, I got somebody else who want to buy something from me. He said, bet. Bring him through. She get out the car, somebody come and shoot his car up, and he's shot. After he gets shot, he drive off to the nearest house to go get help. He get on the phone with his mom and said, Mom, I'm dying, I just got shot. I heard the phone call. I got to listen to the phone recording. She said, you better call on Jesus, call on Jesus, call on Jesus. She lost her son to the streets already. He lost a brother to the streets already. This dude is a drug dealer, bruh. He wasn't a holy man. He wasn't a righteous man. He was a womanizer, a hoe, serving drugs to people that don't help people. He tried to walk to the nearest house. After he get out of his car, so much blood on the scene. He get on his knees. He couldn't walk no more. He said, Jesus, forgive the shooter and forgive me for my sins. When they got to him, he was pronounced dead. There was no life in his body. They took him to the hospital. He was back into his body. They thought it was a ghost. They ran. They say it's a miracle. You're not supposed to be alive right now. Do you know what he told me? He said, where I just was, I want to be back. After he told Jesus, come into my heart, forgive me for my sins. After he took his last breath on earth, God allowed him to be in heaven. And he was sharing with me everything that he saw in the spiritual realm. This life here is temporary. Have you ever thought to yourself, why do I die? You ever thought to yourself? As a kid, dog, I'm like, why do I have to die? It's not fair for me to experience joy with my friends and family and then I forget. It's not fair that I experience this life and then what? I just vanish? It's no more John? I'm just gone? That's not fair. As a kid, I thought that. Well, you know what? That's because it's some truth to it. We don't just vanish. We was never supposed to die. Sin brought death. When you go out there and you see a tree with no leaves, that's death. That wasn't like that before sin came. When you go out there and see the grass rotting and all the brown in the grass, that's death. That was never in the world. When my friend got shot and died, he continued living. But the only reason why he continued to live is because he said, Jesus, forgive me for my sins. Before he took his last breath, he got to live. When your spirit leave your body, you're going to be dead or alive. Death is separated from your creator. He got to be united with his creator because he said, Jesus, forgive me for my sins. What he was doing on this earth was wrong. It was wrong. But his mom said, hey, if you about to die, you better call on Jesus. And he did that. And Jesus said, I forgive you for your sins. What he was sharing with me or what he saw is what truly made me give my life to Christ. Even after I had my own encounter. Because I said, one day I'm going to take my last breath. And if I'm going to take my last breath, then I need to make sure that I'm going to continue living. Because my brother, my friend who I actually know, played ball with, hoop with, at his house with, who I witnessed, now shot, pronounced dead, heard the voice recording, said he'd rather be back where he was than to be here on his earth with his wife and kids. I believe that.
Nobody wins when the family feels.
OGs, pull up, don't run.
Also, I'm sorry, my apologies for the people who could not hear me. I am very apologetic about that. So this is what, let me speak on that situation for a second. Sorry for the people who could not hear me. So when it come down to switching off to a video and then going live, a lot of times I got to press the mute button so the video could play. So I apologize for the people who could not hear me. That was on me. My apologies. For the people who did not hear me, I'm going to touch on that again. I apologize again for the people who could not hear me. That was on me. Like I said, when you go from a video to now speaking live, you gotta hit and you gotta hit the mute button and unhit the mute button. So I apologize for that to everyone. All right, but I'm gonna back up a second. I'm going to back up for a second to just go over some of the things that I was going over. So first and foremost, for the people who saw the Holy Gabbana video, it was very powerful. And one thing that I was stating in regards to the Holy Gabbana video is that as he turned his life over to God and transitioned, right, he became a leader in the church house. That has been his focus when it come down to turning his life over to God, being a leader. I'm mentioning this for a reason. When it come down to Holy Gabbana going from being a sinner to now being a person who is a leader in regards to the faith, right? I'm saying this just to say most men want to be leaders. Most men do not want to follow. Most men, even when they transition, they're looking for directions and places where they could be a part of transforming others' lives. When it comes down to the focus of most churches, that is not the focus, right? So when it comes down to somebody like Holy Gabbana who fully transformed and turned his life over to God, he was a man who was like, look, this is what I'm going to do. And he's doing it. And right now he's traveling the world doing it. And I'm mentioning this to kind of go into the topic, which is why are single men not going to church? Right? And I just want to say this as I go into talking about why most single men, right? As I go into the topic of why most single men do not go to church, I want to say this for all the voracious people out there. I don't mean all men. When I'm speaking on, and also too, let me know, people, if y'all hear me and everything like that, let me know if y'all can hear me okay. All right. I took it off of mute. Again, I apologize for that. You probably see streamers do this all the time because when we go from, speaking to playing a video, you got to always press mute. So sometimes we forget about hitting that mute button and unmute, and everything like that. So again, my apologies when it come down to that, right? So as I go into this topic of talking about why single men are not going to church, I want everyone to have an understanding. I'm not talking about all. And that's for all the voracious people out there. I'm not talking about all. All right. I'm talking about the majority. Right. So as I get into that, I'm going to show the study again. I'm going to show the study just so we can all be on the same page. Because I went over some important stuff in regards to showing the study. Right. So let me see. All right. Okay. So one thing I want to do is go over the gender gap. And like I said, we went over this. Y'all couldn't hear me, so I want to go over it again. And again, my apologies for not hitting the unmute button. That was a streamer's worst malfunction, not hitting the unmute button. All right, so here are the gender gaps. So typically in the U.S. congregations, draw an adult crowd that's 61% female, 39% male. This gender gap shows up in all age categories. That's a huge gap right there alone. you know, and I'm going to explain everything as we go into this. Again, 61% female, 39% male. That's the majority of churches in the U.S., right? On any given Sunday, there are 13 million more women in America who go to church. 13 million. A lot of people may be like, why? We're going to talk about it, and we're going to play some videos so people could kind of see and understand why, or have more of an understanding on why, right? Okay, this Sunday, almost 25% of married church-going women will worship without their husbands. Now, you see the percentage went up a little bit for men, so they're saying 25%, right? So that means 75% of men who are married do go to church with their wife. So the percentage of men who go to church go up as men are in serious committed relationships or married, right? Midweek activities often draw 70 to 80% of female participants. You know, most of the time those are people, you know, women who are serving in church, you know, ushers, you know, participating in activities and things like that, right? The majority of church employees are women, except for ordained clergy who are overwhelmingly male. Let me explain that. So when it comes down to church employees, again, this is serving. Most women do not mind serving in the church house, right? Most women don't mind being ushers, putting together events, assisting, you know, male leaders when it comes down to putting things together. Most women do not mind that. So as you see, it says the majority, which is at least 80%, right? Except for the leaders in the church, the ordained pastors, the preachers, the deacons, you know, the musicians and things like that. It goes up to about 90%. Now, in a lot of churches, when it comes to male, are top heavy. Do y'all know what I mean by top heavy? What I mean by top heavy is most men in churches, as long as they have a leadership role, they don't mind being in church. Is that right? I'm not saying that. I'm just explaining why we see this. Also, a lot of churches don't allow, this is the truth, these are facts. A lot of churches don't allow, you know, women to have leadership roles like being a pastor, you know, and things like that. You could disagree. I'm just saying, right? And also, too, on the other hand, most men want to be the leaders. A lot of men don't go to church, or rather focus on themselves if they don't have a role to where they could see some type of leadership in the future. So this is why you see it going up when it comes down to the leaders in the church. Majority men. But when it comes down to serving in the church, which is a lot of roles that have to do with following, the majority are women, right? Okay. Over 70% of boys who are being raised in church will abandon it during their teens and 20s. Many of these boys will never return. Most of the time, most young boys in their teens are going to church. Why? Because their parents are making them go to church. When it comes down to this right here, I understand this clearly because that was me. I stopped going to church in my 20s. I was going on and off, but I stopped going, you know, the majority of the time because I was focused on what? What are most men focused on? Building a foundation. They're working, being a provider in the future, things like that. That's a lot of men focus. So a lot of men stop going in their 20s. Eventually, when it come down to myself, I went back to church. You know, I turned my life totally around, and I wanted to get more involved. By this time, I was in my 30s, right? Late 20s, going into my 30s. So it took some time, right? But when it come down to it, that was me as well. I was in that percentage right there where it says over 70% of boys who are being raised in church will abandon it during their teens and 20s, right? Okay, as of June 2022, 36% of women say they went to church last week either in person or online, whereas only 24% of men did the same thing. Again, it shows you the percentage gap of continuing to go into church. The majority women, less men. Churches overseas report gender gaps of up to 9 women for every adult man in attendance. Christian universities are becoming covenants. The typical Christian college in the U.S. enrolls almost 2 women for every 1 man. Fewer than 10% of U.S. churches are able to establish or maintain a vibrant men's ministry. It's tough, right? It's tough, and like I stated earlier, the main reason that I wanted to have this conversation today is because, like I said, I was speaking to my boy Isaiah, and we was just speaking on the Bible study that he hold. And he was just saying, man, we have women that's coming all the time, but I cannot get men to stay. I cannot get these young men to stay and continue to focus on the word, coming to Bible study, coming to church. So that's why I thought it was important to break these things down, because a lot of people do not have these type of conversations. Let's be transparent. And this is why I wanted to have the tough conversations here. Let's be transparent. Most of the time when it comes down to it, as Christians, we're not focused on the tough conversations that have to do with men or women. Right? We may read the scripture and go over it, but not focused on the tough conversations. But this is a conversation that I feel needs to be had. Why are men, single men for the majority, not going to church? Right? Why? Now, I want to go into some of those reasons why, and I'm going to show a couple of videos after, but let's go into some of these reasons why. And if I say anything that anyone that's listening have anything different to say about it, leave a comment. I'll read it. I want to hear what you all got to say too as well, right? So I want to say, first and foremost, everything that I'm going to be saying is not about me. I'm not the focus. I'm speaking on the majority. The focus is not just speaking on me. Right? So we speaking on the majority, I'm speaking the facts according to studies and my own observation as well, because I do go to church every Sunday. So I know what I see. I know I see a lot of men in here who are with their wives or their significant others. And I know when it comes down to single people, I see a lot of single ladies, but not many single men who are here by themselves or with their friend or family members. But overwhelmingly, a lot of women. And I don't know necessarily if they single. I'm just saying I see a lot of ladies come in with their friends and, and loved ones. You see it all the time, right? So we're going to go over those facts. And at the end of the day, too, I'm a man. So I know when it comes down to what men are looking for and what is the primary focus for men, I understand what that is as a man as well, So I want to start with this. One thing that I would say is I think the majority of the men out there don't necessarily always like the message that is given in church. A lot of time the message is primarily focused on what? It's primarily focused on the things that men are not doing right. Now, is that a message that a lot of men need to hear? Yes, I believe so, 100%. But a lot of times when churches focus on that message and telling men, oh, you not necessarily a bum, but you not a leader. You not doing what you need to do. It's your fault why this happened and everything like that. A lot of young men do not necessarily want to hear that. Maybe they need to hear it, but they don't want to hear it. And let's be real, in most churches, that is the focus, because the majority of the churches are women and also women who are liberals. The church focus are liberals nowadays, right? I mean, let's break it down and let's be real. During election time, what do we see a lot? We see a lot of the Democrats going to churches, and we see them sitting with pastors, and then they're being a part of the message. And why is that? Because the churches are primarily filled with liberals. They know that's one of their base audience. We don't see a lot of these, Democrats in churches between the years of 2 and 3. We don't see a lot of them in church. Because every term is 4 years, right? During years 2 and 3, we don't see a lot of liberals. We don't see a lot of those Democrats in church. So that's where the message is primarily focused on in a lot of the churches, you know? And a lot of men are what? Conservatives, especially nowadays. Remember, men want to hear a message of conquering the world. When it comes down to the ladies don't mind hearing a message of guidance, following. Young men want to hear a different message. I'm going to say something that really may hit a lot of people, especially people who are Christians. This is why you see a lot of men go towards religions like the Muslim religion, black men, black Israelites, and things like that, because it's primarily focused on a man being ambitious, having a drive, and going out there and being great. That's the focus when it comes down to Muslims and black Israelites and things like that. But when it comes down to a lot of Christian churches who are focused primarily on liberals, the message is very different. It's directed to benefit the women and liberals. Right? I mean, to be honest, that's why I love the church that I go to now, because I don't feel that there. Right? I think that it also have an approach of focusing on men becoming leaders and being leaders and things like that. But that isn't the message in all churches nowadays. So that's why you see a dramatic drop when it come down to men going to churches and things like that. I was talking about this yesterday in regards to men being leaders and everything like that, right? And I mentioned, most men at the end of the day want to lead and not follow. So if you ask me, I think that most churches should focus more on groups when it comes down to it, men's groups that help men transition into becoming leaders immediately, as they get the discipleship and things that they need to be those type of men in churches, right? But a lot of churches do not have these type of programs. Some do, but a lot don't. Another thing we got to understand is that when it comes down to it, men's primary focus is going out there and becoming providers. Men want to go out there and build their foundation. They want to go out there and have success, right? So a lot of it could just be simply that men are working. Men are out there trying to focus on having something so they can have a family one day. So it could be as simply as that right there. There's not always a reason of, the man didn't like the message, or growing up, he didn't like church, so he stopped going. It's not always about that. It's also, when it comes down to it, men are expected to be men who can provide for their future families. Men are expected to go out there and have a job. Men are expected to be able to take care of their families. So a lot of it just have to do with that alone right there. A lot of men are out there trying to conquer the world. Just to be honest with you all. Right? That's why you start to see more men come to church when what? They get married. They're settling down. They have their wife. They have their kids. When it come down to going out there and trying to conquer the world, they slow down from all of that. They're more in a settled place and position. Right? So you start to see things change, a little bit more, when it come down to men, now coming back to church. Right? So there's a lot of differences when it come down to reasons on why a lot of single men don't go to church or is not in the church houses, and why it's overwhelmingly so many more women than men in churches. Right? So what I want to do really quick, let me just see. I just want to check. Messages out. Okay. Been in church. Okay, let me look at some of the messages really quick. Let's go over some of the messages. All right. We got. Also, too, one of them was Holy Ghost Rider. I appreciate you letting me know that the sound earlier, the sound was not in. Let me see. Okay. All right, let's get this up. All right. And we have some strong opinions on this, but like I said, I want to show it all. Okay, we have Aki Betha said are gay. Oh man, I mean, hey, you got that too. I don't believe that's the majority, but I mean, yes, some are, but that's not huge. It's not a huge percentage of men who are not going for that reason. Let me just put it that way, so. But yeah, I believe that there's a percentage of that though. All right. Sophia Miller. The church needs to learn to behave more of a community instead of separation of singles and married taken. That makes sense. I'm going to give you, like I said, Sophia, I mentioned this earlier, right? A lot of the churches focus on their primary audience. So that's a huge part of the conversation because their primary audience are focused on the things that they have been through, right? If they have been separated or divorced, and things like that, right? So you hear a lot of those messages where they focus on what the man did wrong pertaining to that particular subject. Not all churches. I'm just saying what Sophia said does make sense because that do be the focus. But there are a lot of churches who do focus on the community, right? Which is a very important thing to focus on in regards to community. I'm just saying when it comes down to men, I believe more churches should have groups that are focused on men becoming leaders if you want to get more men to come to church. I mean, I think about that myself. When I was in my 20s, if outside of like being a musician or going into church to sing and things like that, most men like myself at that age didn't really see any type of roles to where, okay, I could go in there and become something that'd be very beneficial in regards to leadership. A lot of men don't see those type of things in churches, right? So that's why that's not the focus for a lot of men, especially young single men, right? So, all right, let's see. Lucas Davis. It's absolutely true that a ton of churches don't really know what to do with single adults. They're happy you're there, but it's really easy to slip through the cracks. But let's be real. I'm gonna be transparent. There's a lot of there's a lot of programs for women in churches, a whole lot, you know? And like I said, women are not necessarily always trying to lead. That's what men want to do. Men are focused on leading and doing something to where they could feel like, okay, I had a big part of this. I'm just speaking in the psyche of a man, right? So when it come down to the groups and the programs that they have in the churches, or even when it come down to serving in the church, a lot of women jump all over that. They want to be a part of those things, but men are looking for things that they could specifically look at and find in churches to where they're like, oh, okay, I could turn into a leader doing that. And most of the time, if a man is not trying to be a pastor or a musician or be a part of the choir, singing or whatever in the church, most men are looking at it to where it's like, well, I don't have no place. And again, I'm speaking on young men, especially young men who are single. They're looking at it to where I have no place here. So I got to go out there and become a provider so I could build a foundation and take care of my family one day. A lot of times men eventually come back to church, but I'm just saying this is why you see, especially men in their 20s and 30s who leave the church when they're single. There's no programs or groups that are focused on young men becoming leaders. And that's something that I believe most churches need to focus on, right? Okay, let me see. Holy Ghost Writer, it's more freaks at the church than it is at the clubs. Oh man, I got a story for you in regards to that, man. I was going to a church in LA, right? Shout out to Bishop Blake. I was going to a church in LA, off of Crenshaw, and I'll never forget. One Sunday I was at church, and I'm sitting down, and Bishop Blake was in the front giving a message, and next thing you know, I see a good like 20 to 30 girls walk into the church in bikinis, thongs, bras, no t-shirts, all of that. Just came in boldly and like, okay, where my seat at? Everybody just stared. And Bishop Blake, I give it to him, he kept preaching. He kept preaching because the way the church is set up, you could see you're like the center of attention when you walk in from that door in the church. So it's like 20, 30 of them, and they didn't sit up top. They came down and sat right around the front. Nobody told them to leave or exit or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all know y'all coming from the block. Y'all coming right off the block. But yeah, when I saw that message, I just wanted to tell that story. All right, I'm gonna put this up just because you let me know, so I appreciate it. Holy Ghost Writer, no sound, bro. I appreciate you letting me know the sound was off. I really do. Like I said, sorry about that. Sorry about earlier when the sound cut out. Again, when you play a video, you got to mute the sound, and then you gotta unmute it when the video is done being played. So that was my mistake, but I appreciate it for you letting me know. All right. All right, cool. So I want to show a couple of videos that's primarily focused on people who are having these conversations, right? And you know, as I'm playing these videos, I want us to talk about the things that we see going on in these videos. So, and being talked about in the videos. So let's go on and get to the.
And so I guess my question would be.
Hold on. All right, we're about to get to the first video. Just give me 1 second. And again, I want everyone to focus on. Even the people who don't agree, I want you to focus on exactly what they're saying, because I think they're all giving really good points in regards to this topic. So focus on the points that they give, and then we'll talk about it, you know, at the end, or maybe a little bit during the video and everything. So, All right. 1 second.
If the church is primarily catering to women, it could be also because women have statistically been the church's primary audience. Because statistically speaking, women usually make up more of the church membership than men do.
That's true.
But what's intriguing about it is that most men are the pastors. And so I guess my question would be, what even is the reason that men aren't a part of churches? Because the Nation of Islam doesn't have a problem getting men. But I just had a conversation last week with a man he's the leader of his men's ministry. And he was like, men don't want to join. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be active. He was at Glory and he was like, your women are so excited to be here. I have to beg men to come to Bible study because they feel like if I just came to church with my wife, that's enough. And so maybe women are being catered to because women are more thirsty. Is that wrong?
I have a lot of thoughts.
I want to hear it.
I want to say something about it before you
I have a lot
jump
of
in.
thoughts.
I think the nature of women allows them to be attracted to the model of the church and the way the church celebrates and idealizes the person on the stage and the person on the mic. I think in that type of scenario,
don't be
we need to
caring
pay
about
attention. Right. Pay attention to scriptures. It says there are parts of the body that require the type of attention that the seen parts don't require. And I think we miss that to recognize that men are drawn to places where they feel valued, or another word for that, where they feel needed. If I go into a space and everybody celebrates the pastor, they listen to the pastor, I come in and I can disappear. I could die and nobody would know. And so I'm not needed here. In fact, the reverence and respect only goes to one place. I think if we, as a church, as a people, men and women, begin to recognize that it truly is a body and pay attention to the giftings. When a man comes into that place,
How can he serve this community?
How can he serve?
See, that was one of the things that I was kind of talking about when I said men want to feel like they're a part of something, right? In regards to knowing that there's programs to where they could become leaders as well and be more a part of what's going on here at this church. A lot of churches, let's be real, that's not the primary focus. That's why I said it'd be good if a lot of churches had more groups for young men that they could feel like, okay, this is something that I could be a part of and have a huge impact in regards to this church that I want to go to or this church that I'm going to right now currently. I believe that a lot of the mega churches have figured that out. But when it comes down to the majority of churches are not mega churches. So there are a lot of churches out here. I'm going to say at least maybe around 80% of churches do not have these type of groups for young men. Like I said, most young men want to be leaders or they want to be a part of something that they could feel a huge impact with, right? When it comes down to a lot of the ladies, the reason why you see most of the positions that are involved with employment and serving are women. Women do not mind serving. Women do not mind being a part of something that is already being led by someone else, right? So that's why you see overwhelmingly women who go to churches, they're serving. They're the employees. But you see men overwhelmingly when it comes down to the leadership roles in the church are all men. In fact, the percentage go up even more, 95% and up for the leadership roles in the church, men. So that's telling you at the end of the day what men want to do. And people could feel like, well, that's not what it's all about. Yeah, I could say that. I could sit here and say that. You could say that's not what church is all about. I'm just telling you when it comes down to a men's mind state. A men's mind state is that I don't want to get lost in the sauce. If I'm going to go and be a part of something, I want to make sure that I can have an impact or at least know that I have an opportunity to have an impact. And in most churches, there's no room for men to have an impact on the church. You could serve. You could be an employee maybe. You could be an usher. But to have a huge impact to where you're going to have people now looking at your views, what you value, who are you, you know, and things like that. There's not a lot of roles that men are being taught in churches to where they can have those type of roles one day. There's not a lot of room for that for a lot of young men. And that is very important. So I think that him, you know, pointing that out was very good. Let's get back to it.
Serve, how can he be recognized as an individual that is coming to contribute value into this place, even if he never steps on a mic, even if he's never seen? Could the church incubate and create forums where that men could be used and recognized? See, the scripture talks about recognition in the sense that there is a special attention. There's a particular type of care or attention or reverence that goes to the part that is less seen. And I think we got that wrong in the church. It repels men.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Let me just say this. So that I agree exactly with what Ezekiel said, but I also think that we may underestimate how much men want community, right? Because a lot of times a woman can go in a church body and be excited about the worship, be excited about, you know, the pastor preaching, and there's an excitement, and I don't want to make it seem like women are just like emotional, right? Because I think a lot of women in the church love the Lord and love the body, right?
See, there we go again. The mute button was on. So we're going into the next video now. This particular video is speaking on why young men are leaving the church, right? So I want to, like I said again, I want to get y'all opinion and y'all thoughts from it as well. But this video is a video that definitely stuck out to me. So let's get to it.
Are welcome here.
This won't work. And it's a shame, too. I mean, could you imagine a bunch of strong, confident young men being built up and supported by the church, fighting evil together, and offering a more satisfying vision of what the good life actually looks like? Peterson recognizes that young men in the church could make each other and the world better. And that sounds fantastic. But there's a problem. Young men can't get the help they need from the church right now, so they're leaving and going to the places where they can instead. Let me explain. Imagine for a second you're a young man. What's the life that you wake up to every day? You're alone. Everybody hates you. They call you trash because they think you're to blame for all of their problems. And they're always trying to punish you for it. The world thinks it's morally good to treat you like garbage because they think you deserve it. You know, for all the patriarchy you've inflicted on the world. And those ideas are becoming policy now. So you're isolated, under constant attack, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Now imagine you turn to the church for help, and they do next to nothing. They hardly acknowledge those problems exist most of the time, let alone put any boots on the ground to do anything about it. The other day, a friend of mine told me, I feel like everyone is fighting against me, and no one is fighting for me. This guy's a Christian, and he goes to a solid church, but he still feels like there's nobody fighting in his corner. That should not happen. This is reason number one why young men are leaving the church. We aren't fighting for them, but other people are. Let me show you what I mean. Andrew Tate is not a good guy, but watch this clip and you'll see exactly why young men are flocking to be his acolytes.
Firstly, you're confusing 1% of men with all men. The majority of men have no money, no power, no sex from their wife,
Facts.
no fucking chance in court. So most men, their life sucks. Okay. The second thing, when a man gets up at 4 a.m. to go carry garbage, he ain't thinking, I'm gonna do this so I can oppress that bitch because she's broke. He's doing it so my woman can stay at home and raise my kids and have nice nails while I'm out here carrying trash.
Did you catch it? He stood up for them when we wouldn't, right?
Sorry about the language, but I wanted to talk about that for a second. See, we got to understand something. People may be listening to this and have feelings and saying certain things like, well, It's not about any of this when it come down to it. It's only about the word. It's only about the Bible, scripture, you know, and things like that, which you are right. But I want to point something out. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And when it come down to how God created us biologically, men biologically want to be a part of something and have an impact on something. And also men want mentors and feel like they have mentors that are fighting for them, leading them and showing them how to become leaders themselves. So I think that was very important what he just said. See, a lot of them young men too are leaving the church house because you got people like who, I'm not a big follower of him or anything like that. I've listened to some of his messages. Andrew Tate, you know, people like Andrew Tate, even when Kevin Samuels was alive, right? You got a lot of these individuals who outside of church are fighting for young men, are showing young men like, hey, do this, take this direction. And you could become that man who you really want to become deep down, right? So a lot of young men are going towards that direction and saying, well, you know, in the church house, they not fighting for me, they fighting for the ladies. You know, I don't know how I can have a huge impact in the message that's being given by some of these pastors. But I see how it can have an impact by continuing to listen to Andrew Tate or continue to listen to Kevin Samuels, you know, or continue to listen to Fresh and Fit. I see how it can have a very huge impact. I'm just speaking on what's going on when it comes to the young men. Is it necessarily right? I'm not going to say it's right, but I will say this. This is going to continue to happen until there are more programs for young men to go into the churches and see and understand where their impact could be just as huge as their impact if they was listening to one of those individuals. One thing that those individuals could never take place of is the faith. So I don't even believe it'll take a lot from the churches to make more of a focus young men. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these young men are still Christians. They still want to follow the faith. They just don't believe that they could become all they can be in the church. And that's just the fact. That's just the fact. All right, let's listen to a little more of this video really quick.
You trust people who fight for you. Because think about it, when you don't have the voice to stand up for yourself to these monolithic powers that are attacking you, imagine how it feels to finally see someone standing up to the people who are hurting you, fighting their lies and winning. And this should be the church. But unfortunately, most Christian men are too afraid of women to say anything that might offend them. Sure, we'll fight for all kinds of political causes, but not for our own people. Not if it means sleeping on the couch. Right, the church wants to teach guys how to live a better life, but they're not listening to us because they don't trust us. And why should they? We didn't do anything to earn it, but Tate did. That guy's a dadgum war hero as far as they're concerned, and they follow him because they trust him. They trust him because he earned it. So there's this pipeline of young men leaving the church and going to the people that they feel like they can trust, the people who are fighting for them. In the church, we usually want to focus on the spiritual more than the practical, but if somebody has their boot on your neck, what do you care about more? Do you care about theology or spirituality? No, you care about the boot. Then it's like one person comes along and they say, hey, I see this person's got their boot on your neck. I'm gonna go fight him. I'm gonna take some punches in the face, get this person off of you so that you can breathe again. Then you have another person who says, hey, I can't see that boot on your neck, but I think you just need to have more faith and be more spiritual about it. But be warm and filled, right? I'm praying for you. Like, which person are you going to listen to after that? The one that fought for you, the one that didn't lift a finger? If we want young men to stick around, we need to stand up and fight for them. And yes, we need to do that with grace and fairness. But sometimes people are pushing selfish, destructive lies. And somebody needs to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. You need to stop. Young
I think that when it come down to a lot of the things that he's saying right now, we do got to understand that side of it as well. When it come down to a lot of the stuff that we hear on the internet, right? When it come down to men being misogynistic and men not being strong providers, and things like that. When we hear a lot of those messages out there, a lot of people who are putting those messages out there are people who are in church. So it translates when it come down to the message, when that's your primary audience. So he's not making nothing up when he sit here and he say, well, a lot of men feel like, nobody's fighting for them and everything like that. That's the way a lot of young men out here feel. Let me go. We're gonna get out of this video. I myself talk to young men all the time, a lot of young men, and I ask like, hey man, have you been to church in a while, or why you not in church and everything like that. And a lot of these men the first thing young men would always say is that, oh man, I always work. I work all the time. I don't have no time to go to church, and everything like that. So you do hear a lot of that when it come down to young men and everything like that. The second thing is a lot of men say, well, it's no space or a place for me in church. The message is primarily focused on women. This is what a lot of the young men see. This is what a lot of young men believe. And when it come down to us having this conversation today, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation because I believe this conversation should be had more. And this is one area where I believe churches could change and should change. Primarily making the focus, young men. And why isn't the focus young men when it come down to it? If you want to have more young men in the church, right? Let me see. I want to.
So apparently man hit
another video really quick too. I got for y'all. 1 second. Let's see.
Hey guys.
Second.
To the churches. Put up
No,
A guy who's in.
Okay, now I want to play a little bit of this next one. So this is basically what a lot of men hear when they go to church, right? In regards to the message that is being put out there by a lot of the pastors in churches. And look, I'm going to say this before I play this video. I would say myself, sometimes we could be hard on young men, right? Because a lot of us older men, we know how hard it was to get to the places that we have got to in life. And we know what we went through and had to go through to get there. So when it comes down to men who are in leadership roles, you talk very, very hard on young men. That a lot of times could be harsh in a lot of ways, right? But when it comes down to people who are in environments where you have groups of people that's watching and listening from a leadership standpoint, one of them being church, I think that your focus should be a lot different. Your focus should be bringing young men together and having things in place to that is in place there for young men to be a part of, right? But I want to play this video in regards to showing what a lot of young men hear when they go to church, right? So let me play this.
A guy who's in his late 20s, early to mid 30s, still doesn't have a woman, still doesn't have children on the horizon, is a very selfish and self-indulgent human being. And he is just going to vote for socialists to take care of him from womb to tomb, rather than being a grown man who carries his own responsibilities for his family.
That was a pastor. That was a pastor. I'm saying like that's a normal message in a church that men are hearing. That was a pastor talking. When it come down to young men, this is the message that a lot of them are listening to. And when you're young and you're not in a place to where you have matured enough to understand what he means, and you're not ready for that type of responsibility, then you ain't trying to hear all that. You like, I'm out of here. Speedy Gonzalez, zoom. I'm out of here. I want no part of this. I don't got to hear this. I'm not no kid anymore. That's what they saying. All right, let's listen to a little.
Sure. Okay. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. You should not have to deal with this. This type of stuff makes me just because I mean, not for myself. Like I'm doing all right, but it makes me upset for the guys who are.
You see how men always got to let you know I'm good. Oh, no, not me. I'm good. Not for myself. I make 6 figures a year. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing pretty good. I got my own place. I'm all right. Not me. I'm all right. It's like you don't even need to say all that. You doing a video. You just talking about what you just heard. You don't got to let us know you good. That's man. That shows you as men, we be having that. That's ego right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm all right. I'm good. I don't know about y'all out there that just heard that, but when it come to me, I'm good, But let me have y'all back for a second though. All right, let's get back.
Asking out girl after girl and getting rejected left, right, and center, and then they go to church and get treated like you're the problem. Now, there's a sliver of truth to what he's saying here. There are guys out there who really are that selfish, and they just like, yeah, I'm totally happy to just sit at home and watch porn and play video games, and I don't actually want a real woman in my life. My life's great. There are some outliers who are like that. But if you actually talk to the guys who are single right now, that is nothing like what they're experiencing. They do not want to be single.
I'm 26 years old and never had a girlfriend.
27 years old. Never kissed a girl on the lips before, which of course means I've never had a girlfriend before, never dated anyone before, and it fucking kills me. I'm not gonna lie, it does kill me a lot.
And then they say stuff like this, and it's like they're getting kicked in the face while they're down. And he's getting lit up in the comments for it. The dating scene has been bleeped for the last 5 to 10 years. He's married too long to understand the dating scene is absolutely destroyed. A lot of assumptions here, omitting entirely an educated man and looking for also a quality one. Not the best English, but I mean, the point is basically it's not so easy for a decent man even to find a quality woman today who's actually interested in him. Even people who've actually been through this and they got married, look at this, married late, 35, had kids at 38 and 42. So this is just not resonating with anybody's experience out there. And this is really important too. So this commenter points out, so I'm 36 years old, nearly, and we'll be getting married for the first time next year. It's all in God's timing. I mean, there's some stuff you have to do on your end too, but yes, this is really critical. Paul says it's better for you not to be married. That was me. This, by the way, this is not the Church of Jesus. This is stuff from like the Church of the American Way. He's taking his own conclusions about a small group of men and then universally applying it to all young single men, which is not fair at all. And it's actually pretty close to what a lot of feminists are doing to men right now. Lest we forget Jordan Peterson's epic rant about it.
What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
This is not what the church should be. Single men should be welcomed and respected. They should be encouraged and built up too. And that's what's really frustrating about this, is the part that's missing is that there's no solutions offered anywhere in here. It's just a drive-by curb stomp insult. And if you're not offering solutions to people, then all you're doing is complaining. And ain't one single guy out there gonna listen to you complain about them and then respond well to that. This is why the church is shrinking right now. And young men, the people that we need the most, are the demographic that's leaving the fastest.
All right. Now I want to say this, though. I think it's important that we're hearing this stuff, right? I just want to make it I just want to be clear, though, okay? I'm not going soft on men, all right? Like, not at all. Pause. I'm not going soft on men. At the end of the day, men, we have to work to become leaders. We got to put in the work to like be able to lead others, lead a family, lead our wife, lead our kids, lead other young men, lead other young men and women. You got to work to become that. So I'm not going soft on men at all, because all men at the end of the day want to have a family, want to have a wife one day, want to have kids one day, also want to be a part of something that they have a huge impact on, that put them in a position of having a leadership role. All men want that, all right? So I'm not, and in order to get that, you have to work hard for it. You have to educate yourself. I was like, let me make sure that I'm not on mute right now. But nah, you got to put in work to be that type of a man. You're not just going to get to that place by just crying boo-hoo and, oh, I haven't had a girlfriend ever, and I'm 30 years old and I never kissed a girl. I wasn't really planning for that part, right? When it come down to that, hey, that's personal problems. Right now I'm speaking on something different, right? It all had to do with, he was speaking on the church, but I'm saying that's more personal. So I'm not going easy on men and saying, oh, poor men. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if the church want to change that, if a lot of churches want that to change, you have to start focusing on what are young men focused on and what do they need and want. Maybe when it comes down to your church, you have such a huge base of women, you may be good and it may not matter to you. You may be able to take care of the church and, you have all these women groups and there's not many men groups. Maybe it's 80% women, 20% men. And it's, you have over 600, people who go to the church, and you may be good. You may not really care for anything more than that, right? Because you have a full church. But if you're a church that do look into your audience and say, wow, overwhelmingly, there's a lot more women. Where are the men? And most of the men in this church, they're with their woman. So where are the single men? If you are a church where that matters to you, then you have to kind of hear what young men are saying. And also, you got to have these conversations so you could change the demographic in your church, right? There is one more video that I want to, let me see. There's one more video that I want to play. Give me.
Do y'all go to church regularly?
No. Okay, cool. This is the one that I want to play. Okay, this is going to be the last video that I'm going to play. And then we're going to get into something else really quick. All right.
Welcome to Hardly Initiated.
Do y'all go to church?
Okay, sorry about that. I'm about to play it right now. Just getting everything set up. But I appreciate everyone who has been patient through this entire stream, because I wanted to play a lot of videos during this stream. And like I said, it's a lot of mute, unmute, pulling up videos, all type of stuff. So I appreciate everyone who's watching that stuck through it with me. You know, even through the, I don't know, I was probably on mute for like a good 15 minutes. My apologies, man. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to give me a, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to give me one more. Ah, man. I felt that one. I needed to give myself that, you know, because I should have caught that. So I probably lost some of you guys during that stint where I was on mute for about 15 minutes. But for everyone that is here, that came back or stuck with it and is still listening, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. I really do from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to do whatever I got to do to not let that happen again, all right? So, all right, this is going to be the last video that I'm going to play before we go into this next topic, right? So, here we go.
Regularly?
No. Not regularly, no.
Thank you. Why aren't they there? Because y'all not going to church. Do y'all go to church regularly?
No. Not regularly, no.
Thank you. Why aren't they there? Because y'all not going to church.
Well, I know why. I know why though. So
yeah.
Why don't you go to church?
It's more of therapy rather than instruction for how to get things accomplished.
Oh.
Y'all see how, and like look, when you hear stuff like this, he's not the only man that feels like that and think that. You hear that? It's more therapy. You know, it's directed primarily towards women. It's more therapy. I want to conquer something out here. I want to learn something when it comes down to, okay, if I do that, I'm going to go out here and become successful. That's what most young men want. That's why when it comes down to the faith, it take men a lot of times a while. Later, it's later on in life to where they start to realize and understand how important that message is, because the main focus is after this life. Not right now, after this life. But most young men is not thinking about after this life. They thinking about the next step, which is, I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I want to go out here and be able to get a nice car, have a nice house and all of that. So in order for me to do that, I don't want to go listen to something that feels therapeutic. I want to listen to something that's going to show me how to make this million. I'm just speaking and saying what it is when it come to men. That's all I'm doing. I'm just saying why you don't see a lot of single men in church. That's all I'm doing. I'm pointing it out. This is one person saying this, one man saying this, but I'm telling you, this is how the majority of young men think, right? All right, let's get back to it.
So it doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest with you.
I would have to agree.
Yeah, I mean, we had Nur Muhammad come in. He said it.
Did you just hear that? He said we had Nuri Muhammad come in here. And I want y'all to pay attention closely to what he said Nuri Muhammad was speaking on. All right?
It the best. He said, church in the Christian community is more about coping with life rather than conquering life. So
I think it depends on the church.
Didn't I speak on that? And when it came down to this particular video, that part right there, I forgot all about that. But I was speaking on this myself when I continued to say young men are looking to go out there and run something, conquer something, whatever, right? That's what men are looking for. And he straight up said this was a message from Nuri Muhammad, which is why I said you see a lot of men going towards, eventually, becoming Muslims, or black men becoming a part of the black Hebrew Israelites and everything like that. Basically, religions where are directions to where you could feel some type of leadership role that you accomplish, or it have to do with teaching you how to go out there and be successful, right? Look, man, I'm just pointing out what's being said.
I think it depends on the church.
You gotta show it. I've been to a lot of churches.
But I think some of my observation too is that church is actually geared towards women because women are emotional.
I don't know how long I've been on mute. But I believe I did it again when it come down to the mute. My apologies when it come down to that, but it looked like I was on mute again. But I was basically saying when it come down to it, I'm about to go into the next topic when we talking about. I want to talk about this DC situation where a young DC man killed his father, and it's a very sad situation. His father was actually wheelchair bound, and they don't have all the facts yet, but I wanted to play this particular video because it's a very sad situation. So let's go on and get to it really quick, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, tonight, let's
get back to KD.
Well, tonight a DC man is in.
All right, here we go.
Well, tonight a DC man is in jail. This after police say that he shot and killed his very own father in a. Well, tonight a DC man is in jail. This after police say that he shot and killed his very own father in a Navy Yard apartment.
And the victim's sister is speaking only with Fox 5 tonight. Nana St. Bones, who is live at police headquarters. She has the exclusive tonight. Nana.
Guys, Daryl Smith is the name of the 61-year-old man that D.C. police officers found dead inside a unit at the Park Riverside Apartments over in Navy Yard. We actually met his sister outside the complex when police informed her that her brother had passed away. We had a chance to speak with her tonight, and she tells me she still can't believe that her nephew is the one who pulled the trigger.
I'm upset because he loved his son.
Sharon Smith says there's nothing that her brother, Daryl Smith, wouldn't have done for his children, especially 37-year-old D'Angelo Goldston.
He loved all of his kids dearly, and he would always say, I die for my kids, but I never thought you would die by the hands of your kid.
Fox 5 DC was actually at the scene Tuesday evening when Smith found out that her brother passed away. Police say her nephew Goldston shot and killed his father inside the Park Riverside Apartments on 1st Street in Southeast, where Sharon was visiting her brother.
So I knocked harder and I started yelling through the door, Daryl, Daryl, Daryl. And so then his son answered and he stood back. And then I just happened to look and I saw my brother laying on the floor with a pool of blood around his head.
According to court documents, Goldston shot his father at least 2 times in front of a 2-year-old witness, his daughter, who told Sharon and police that
my dad shot my papa.
The Smith family says Daryl, who was in a wheelchair, loved to write.
The love my mom stuck to me like a pair of dice.
This is him rapping at his mother's funeral.
I never really knew how much my mom was worth until I realized she risked her own life to give me birth.
If he was standing here right now, he would say, let me ask you something. You like rap? And he'll just start spitting, right? He wanted to be a rapper.
I never raised your arm to harm your mom.
He was a really good person, he was. I'm gonna miss him. A heart of gold.
Thank you.
Now, investigators tell us that they did recover a gun at the scene. Goldston, who appeared in court yesterday, is facing second-degree murder charges, and he will appear in court again in March for his preliminary hearing. Guys.
And more.
Well, tonight a DC man is in jail. This after.
Yeah, sad situation, man. I mainly wanted to, and also too for everyone, the mute situation happened again. My apologies. I'm gonna make sure for the live stream when it come down to it, the next live stream, I have something that I'm gonna upload in my computer to where I don't gotta continue to press mute and unmute and everything like that. So I'll make sure that I have that worked out before the next live stream. I understand a lot of people had to be overly patient today because I ran into that issue too many times. One thing that I was trying to do was not have a lot of videos being echoed like it was of the previous couple of live streams. So I said, well, I'm just going to mute it, but you got to mute on and off so many times. But I have something else that I'm going to upload in my computer to, be in a place where I don't have to continue to mute and unmute. So for everyone who was patient when it come to that, thank you. And my apologies again, right? But I wanted to show that last video when it come down to this this young DC killer who the guy basically just walked inside of where his father was at and just killed him. So obviously it had to be something very serious that happened between him and his father. Right now that information have not came out, but it's a very sad situation. You hear stories like Cain and Abel, and then you look at what's going on out here in this world, and it's still hard to fathom that people are killing, let alone where people killing each other, but family members, fathers, killing wives and kids are killing fathers and mothers and siblings, and all type of stuff is going on. It's very sad. One thing we got to always understand is Romans 12:19. It says to never take your own revenge. If you feel revenge for that person, but leave the room for the wrath of God. You got to have faith and believe in God when it come down to it at the end of the day. You can't take justice into your own hands, let alone your family, right? Very sad situation. My condolences go to this family who have to deal with this situation. It's sad. And yeah, man. So also too, before I get out of here, Lakers are playing tonight, so you got to catch the Lakers. They play tonight at 7:30. I'm gonna go to Bible study, then I'm gonna catch you later. But if you're gonna be home for the game, definitely catch the Lakers, man. But it's your boy Paul P. I appreciate everyone who was here and who stuck through the the muted part of the live stream. I appreciate all of you, and I love you all. I'm out of here, man. It's your boy Paul P.